And welcome in here to Live Now from Fox. We are going to head out live now to Brooklyn as we're hearing from New York City Mayor-Elect Zohran Mamdani.
Childcare providers here to learn about the incredible work that they do each and every day and how difficult our city has made it for them to do that kind of work. And we know that while families with young children comprise about 14% of this city's population, they comprise about 30% of the set of New Yorkers who are leaving the city. And that's because after housing, childcare is the #1 cost in so many New Yorkers' lives. And we see that in the average estimate of $22,500 a year being the cost of childcare for a single child across these 5 boroughs. And so I'm here thankful for the opportunity to not only share our vision for what universal childcare would look like for the people of this city, but also to listen and learn from those who've been on the front lines of delivering that childcare today, to learn how we can do a better job of actually being partners in City Hall tomorrow. Thank you all for coming.
All right, we'll start with on topics first, please.
Mayor-Elect Mike from Chalk Beat.
Hey Mike, how's it going?
Good. I'm wondering what lessons you're drawing from the rollout of universal pre-K as you think about your own universal campaign. Obviously it was a huge policy achievement, happened very quickly, helped a lot of people, but I've also spoken to a lot of providers, some of whom have spoken to you about the fact that it disrupted things for them. It drew away teachers, it drew away students, some of them had to close down. So how are you kind of thinking about what lessons to take from that as you roll out your own program?
I think there is a critical need to ensure that the childcare we're providing is high quality. And that is something that I've learned mostly in the conversations that I've been having with childcare providers themselves, the importance of that being foregrounded in what we're creating. I think that UPK provides a model for how city government can meet the needs that would otherwise be pushing New Yorkers out of these 5 boroughs. And I'm also looking to learn from the lessons of implementation and ensure that we are building on that we are also not seeing this as an opportunity to throw everything out that came before us, but instead an opportunity for us to build on that which has come before and deliver childcare to those who currently are being pushed out of it.
Yeah,
Sir, I realize that it's early. How do you envision the rollout of all of this? Would you be rolling it out in phases? And what is the overall timeline? When can you, say to New Yorkers, this is our vision realized?
I view the time that I will be the mayor as the time that we have to implement the policies that we ran on. Those are policies that I fully intend to fulfill, and we intend to fulfill them because the absence of them has been costing New Yorkers an immense amount of money. In a single year, it was measured that our economy paid the cost of about $23 billion due to the absence of affordable childcare. On the question of timeline, on the question of phases, these are the conversations we are having over the course of this transition. This is what animates so many of the questions of who we hire and how we create our city hall, because what we want to do is be clear and transparent with New Yorkers, and as soon as we have more information to share on that, we'll be sure to do so.
Are you talking about 1 term or 2 terms when you talk about your time in office?
Maximum 2 terms.
Can you talk a little bit about the latest conversations you've had with the governor about implementing universal child care? I know that you guys have spoken about working on it together. Like, what's sort of your game plan in Albany next year? Can you shed some light on that?
What I've appreciated is that Governor Hochul and I share a commitment to universal child care. It's a commitment that recognizes the fact that the absence of it is not only one that is affecting families, it's also affecting providers and it's affecting staff. And we've heard the fact that while so much of this conversation rightfully centers on the questions of funding, there's also a number of issues around policy, around structure, around RFPs, and just hearing earlier today that the city has oftentimes made it harder. Whereas today we have 2 classrooms that are empty that used to be providing infant care in this very facility. And we know that the lack of flexibility sometimes between school day and extended care has also meant that there are families that are unable to get the care that they need. And in the conversations I've had with the governor, it has been about fulfilling the vision of universal childcare and ensuring that government becomes a partner as opposed to a burden or an obstacle. And that's something that we are going to be spelling out in the weeks and the months to come.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Mamdani. How you doing? We know that this universal child care is the biggest area of alignment that both you and the governor have talked about. To be frank, is this how you get the millionaire's tax or the corporate tax through? You put it in this bucket where there is this universal alignment. So is that how you get that through? And then also, just because there's a hearing today, what do you think about the idea of separating EMTs from firefighters?
You know,
One at a time.
the universal child care is something that we've seen in other cities. In Montreal, for example, rather in Quebec, we saw the implementation of universal child care also led to a 10-to-1 economic return. This is something that we care about it on a moral level, care about it on a political level, but also on an economic level. And I've put forward 2 proposals that I think are the most straightforward and direct ways to raise the revenue for this program as well as our economic agenda and to start Trump-proofing our city, increasing personal income taxes on the top 1% by 2%, increasing the state's top corporate tax rate to match that of New Jersey. I've also said that the most important thing is not how we fund it, but that we fund it. I think these are the most direct ways to do so. But any funding stream that would fund these programs, that is one that we would welcome, because the most important thing at the end of the day is that someone can raise their family in this city and that we make it easier for them to do so.
Isn't using the shared goal the easiest, most straightforward way to envision both your tax plan and your universal child care plan, this area of alignment?
I do think that these tax proposals are the ones that make the most sense, and I also will always be married to the outcomes of what we fund with that.
And EMTs, please, sir.
Yeah, I look forward to I look forward to following up on the hearing, and I think the point for me is also when we're building our city hall, we're building it with an assessment of excellence and an assessment of fluency. And when we're thinking about fire, when we're thinking about EMT, I also want to be surrounding myself with those who have been doing this work before coming to a conclusion that would affect the lives of many workers.
Thank you, sir.
I wonder if you could comment.
So Mayor Adams now plans to designate the Elizabeth Street Garden as parkland. I know previously you spoke about that site potentially being used as affordable housing. Does his actions hinder you, your plans for the site? What do you make of it? And how do you envision, how the site should be used moving forward?
It is no surprise that Mayor Adams is using his final weeks and months to cement a legacy of dysfunction and inconsistency. And I have made clear over the course of the campaign what my vision would be in meeting the urgent need of building affordable housing, especially for seniors across New York City. And the actions that the Adams administration has taken now make it nearly impossible to follow through with that.
I wonder if you could, 2 things. I wonder if you could comment on where you are with NYPD. There's a bit of reporting that Dean Houlihan may want oversight of NYPD. Now it sits with the mayor. And then secondly, I think I'll stay on the previous topic. Can you talk about how you get this funded if there is no appetite for a tax on the wealthy in Albany? How do you get it funded? It's a goal, but if it can't get funded, then, I think you're going to have a lot of upset parents.
Well, I'm glad that we won't have to entertain the hypothetical. And that's because I am confident of what this coalition can accomplish and the fact that it's a coalition that also not just includes myself, not just the governor, but also we've seen time and again in the Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, in the Majority Leader of the State Senate Andrea Stewart-Cousins, commitments, as you can see in their one-house budgets, to taking the steps that would make New York City more affordable. And that to me is, why it's also important that I am standing here alongside 2 elected members, whether it be in the State Assembly or the City Council, for whom this has been part of their compass, part of their fight.
All right, listening in there to New York City Mayor-Elect Zohran Mamdani as he's speaking about his vision for universal child care, as well as what those discussions have looked like between him and Governor Kathy Hochul to make that a reality. Speaking live there at this child care center in Brooklyn as we step away for another commercial break.